Tune into your governance radio program, Sky Forum, every weekday.
All right, thank you so much for your time, and of course, please get geared and position yourself well and be ready to actually get to understanding some of the issues that we have. Now, recently, foreign and domestic powers made a stride to address the gaps in the current constitution to foster human rights reform and a higher standard of living for Zambian natives. Within its political framework, the country is governed by a president and follows the basics of the British court system. As a participatory democracy, the president is elected by universal adult suffrage to no more than 2 5-year terms. All right. While this political system is intended to promote individual rights and voting participation from all segments of the population, only a small portion of registered voters usually end up casting their votes every election period. And as a result of this underrepresentation, a number of human rights issues were introduced. Many of these affect mostly women, children, and the disabled. These voices are especially crucial when considering gender-based violence, political unrest, and health inequities. Other human rights offenses that continue to take place daily in Zambia and elsewhere include a restricted freedom of expression, police brutality, and lengthy delays in receiving justice. Maybe just a simple synopsis and a background of what human rights are and maybe where they come from. Now, in the studios, I am joined by Mr. Kims Banda. He is a Chief Investigations and Legal Services Officer. Good morning, Mr. Banda, and welcome to Sky FM.
Good morning, Farai, and good morning, dear listeners.
All right, so that's Mr. Banda Kims, like I said earlier on in my preamble, Chief Investigations and Legal Services Officer, which is the HRC, commonly known as HRC. And I know for sure that this commission is a very, it's a very well-known commission, and it's very, very synonymous, I think, to most of the people out there, in especially particular times when it comes to issues that have to do with the human rights, violations. And yours is a critical one, Mr. Banda, and the listeners out there will be given a time to actually come on board as well, and of course maybe give one or two questions where they need clarification. They may need as well to also maybe get amplified answers towards certain conditions or indeed certain scenarios that they may want to bring forth. I hope that you'll be geared to help them in any direction.
Absolutely, Farai. We will be very engaging. We hope to accommodate as many views as we can possibly do.
All right. Yeah. So maybe we take the first few minutes, a couple of minutes, or maybe 20 minutes or so, just to be able to help. To ask Mr. Banda to help us understand what these human rights are, where they come from, how they can be promoted, what really surrounds it, where challenges are, if at all there are, which I believe there are. And of course, later on, we will open the lines and of course, get your views and of course, contributions towards the program. And the number will be given later on. Of course, it is the common number that always in the studio. And of course, you can text us as well. Maybe for those that would want to text, you can text in advance 0977 902 568. 0977-902-568. Talking about human rights, I just gave a simple a very brief synopsis of some of the human rights and of course what they intend to be. Take us through, what are human rights? We have heard these human rights. They are what you call there's a Bill of Rights and stuff like that. Sometimes people want to get confused.
Exactly.
Let's get it from the horse's mouth. Human rights.
Right. So thank you, Farai. Human rights, really, as the term itself, human, you find that there is a use of the word human, right? Okay. So human rights are basically entitlements that every person, every human being, regardless of their sex, their nationality, their ethnic origin, their color, or their religion or any other status that you want to attribute to a person, you know, are entitled to by just having been born human beings. Now, the history that many scholars will provide in terms of where human rights are coming from is mainly attributed to a period when we had the world wars, particularly the Second World War. So it was realized by countries that what had happened in the Second World War was one incident that the world should not allow to happen again, because people were killed, families were separated, you know, there were displacements, property was lost, and so on. So because of the grave and gross violation of human rights that occurred around that time, countries came together. As you may know, we have the international body called the United Nations, under which countries are meet and make decisions that foster peace and harmony in the world. So it was agreed that there was a need to pronounce human rights, because a lot of people actually sometimes think that human rights are a Western idea, you know, that they have been brought from somewhere else. They have always been there. Human rights from creation. You know, even for those of us that subscribe to Christianity, you will find that there are commandments that were given, and if you read some of those commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, you will find that they touch on human rights. So basically what happened in 1948 was the adoption of what is known as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where countries said, look, we as a family, a human family, regardless of where you come from, regardless of where you are, we should have a minimum standard for treating one another. And that is why
a setup where we can live in harmony
and peace with one another. And that is why today we have walked this path to a point where from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights we moved until in 1966, because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted right after the Second World War, in 1948, on the 10th of December 1948, and progressively, because the Universal Declaration is not a binding document. So they say, look, maybe we need to go a step further, because we will need to hold countries accountable. If this document is only pronouncing aspirations, beliefs, you know, it is not enough. You know, yes, we say there's a right to freedom of expression, there's a right to freedom of movement, there's a right to so many things. What do we do when these rights are violated? So they moved in 1966 and said, we need to come up with binding international instruments. And they decided now to open the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to open it under two international covenants, because as you will see, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has both as what we call civil and political rights, economic, social, cultural rights, and group rights. They are all in this document, but it's not binding. But although it's not binding, this particular document is regarded as a common, you know, it's a common standard for nations. It's a common, it depicts the common understanding on human rights. So in 1966, the United Nations adopted two critical instruments: the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. So they separated the civil and political rights and the economic, social, cultural rights. And it was for a simple reason, because these two clusters of human rights have got different obligations in terms of the state. Because human rights, the obligation to ensure that human rights are promoted, protected, and fulfilled is borne by the state. That is why it is the country that signs. And Zambia is a party.
It's a treaty.
Exactly. It's a party to these particular instruments. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the two 1966 covenants form what is known as the International Bill of Rights. So that was also not enough. Countries again realized that these documents are binding us at an international forum. we need to bring it home. We need to
break it down even.
Exactly. So it was now required under those instruments that yes, you have signed under the United Nations framework and we will be holding you accountable. Zambia goes to Geneva or New York, where they are assessed on the implementation of these international instruments, and they are held to account at that level. But that is not enough. You and I cannot go. We have no platform to go to the United Nations. We have a platform before our local jurisdiction, the courts. So there is a requirement that now countries must also ensure that these instruments are domesticated, because Zambia is not like other countries. Other countries, the moment that they sign an international instrument, it automatically becomes part of their domestic law. Those countries are called money. Is
this what gave birth to the commission?
I'll be coming to that. So exactly that is what inspired then, that Zambia drafted its independence. Of course, we borrowed a constitution. It was brought by the British who colonized us. We had an independence constitution and so on, and we've had these amendments here up to date. But the connection really which is there is that it started from that high level, and it has been trickling down. Even at the African regional level, we have the African Union. It is also a platform that allows African countries to make international agreements which they are expected to bring home to their respective countries. So that now, if the Universal Declaration says every person has a right to life, the African Union also, the Banjul Charter, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, it also says every person has a right to life. When we come in Zambia, our constitution, Article 12, every person has a right to life. So that is the thread within which these human rights operate. Now, I must mention, I think you brought out a very interesting point that what are some of the challenges? You asked the question, what are human rights? Where do they come from? And what are the challenges? Now, because in 1948, the pronouncement was more on ensuring that those that were victims of serious human rights violations, those that lost relatives, those that they needed reparations, they needed remedies. So it was more of a discourse around the right, like to say you have this right, you have this right. But what maybe was not amplified was responsibilities. And I think this is where perhaps the conversation around human rights has been somewhat diluted based on that historical background.
Actually, it has a lot more. It has given birth to a lot more of very difficult connotations to really understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I listened yesterday, part of it, and this is maybe where it comes now to where my right ends. Another person's right begins. Another person's right will begin at where another person ends.
Exactly.
And that responsibility. Just maybe for this, we're doing this for the sake of those that lost it. Maybe you can just try to bring to understanding or to make people understand the way this can be balanced.
Exactly.
In terms of these human rights.
So in a democratic state, human rights are expected to be enjoyed. However, it has been realized that if, for example, we do not put a limitation to the enjoyment of certain rights, of course, there are some rights that you cannot give a limitation. Okay.
Others are unlimited.
Exactly. So, for example, Article 15 of our Constitution says a person shall not be subjected to torture or inhuman or degrading treatment. If you look at that article, it does not have clause, it's just 15. It does not have
sub A
15
or sub
1, 15 clause 1, clause 2. Because when you have the clause, then you find under clause 2 it will say nothing shall be taken to have violated clause 1 if the following is So what I'm trying to say is that there are certain rights. Slavery, you cannot subject any person to slavery. You cannot. So there are certain rights that are non-derogable. You cannot derogate. You cannot limit them. However, the majority of the rights, because of the interest of other people and the fact that the enjoyment, if not limited to a certain extent, you have the potential then of violating other people's rights. And I'll give an example. We are on radio right now, Farai. If we understood the right to freedom of expression to mean that we can say anything about anyone and
Anyhow.
cast aspersions about people and so on and attack their character, then we are misplacing the understanding of the right.
Abusing.
And I think yesterday I gave an example. I gave an example to Chore that freedom of movement. We have the right to move. But do you honestly expect someone to enter your yard, enter your bedroom, then you ask them, what are you doing? No, it's freedom of movement. I'm moving. It's my right. No. So we have to enjoy rights within a certain, ambit.
Perimeter. Yeah.
Exactly. So that your hand, when it is waving, it is not, poking
infringing
another person.
or maybe tampering with
exactly.
another person.
And now, this is where the problem begins. Okay? Because of that requirement to limit human rights, and the state being the primary duty bearer, it is the one that enacts the laws through the legislative arm of government. Now, when those limitations are put on the enjoyment of rights and the actual implementation of those laws, okay? For example, I'll give an example of the Public Order Act. Public Order Act is a law that limits, actually. It limits the enjoyment of freedom of expression, freedom of association. All right? Because it was, the Constitution says you have the right, you have the freedom to associate. But then the same Constitution says, but your enjoyment of these rights will be subject to other laws. And one of those laws is the Public Order Act, Chapter 113 of our laws. And in that law, and it has been an issue that has been going to court constantly to argue that the manner in which this law has been enacted and maybe in the manner in which it is applied is one that actually takes away the right which is in the Constitution.
Selectiveness of...
Exactly. And the state will say, no, we are justified to stop you from assembling and associating based on public interest, because it is one of those exceptions that are listed in the Constitution. So what then happens is that you have to interrogate. People have got a recourse. They have to challenge where they feel that the basis upon which this right is being curtailed is not justifiable. They have the right to pursue redress through the courts of law.
In case you just joined us, this is a Sky Forum, a special edition, and we actually are looking at issues surrounding human rights and, of course, the HRC, which is a commission that actually stands to promote as well as, spearhead issues of, human rights. We are talking to Mr. Kims Banda, the Chief Investigations and Legal Services Officer. Now, talking about these things, I know for sure that we can need maybe 3 hours or 4 hours to just tackle everything. Absolutely. And we have limited time in today's edition. Yeah, let's just try to break down so that we look at some of the common issues, and of course maybe the mandate of your commission. Absolutely. The Human Rights Commission. Absolutely. Just in brief. In brief, yes.
Yes. So the Human Rights Commission,
because you're talking about the two clusters, which other clusters or which other human rights or types of human rights or violations do you tackle? Does the HRC have mandate on?
So the very good, Farai. The Human Rights Commission is a national human rights institution, all right, and its mandate is broad.
Is it independent?
I'm coming to that. It is independent. I'm coming to that. Just maybe to break the mandate of the commission, because I think maybe our colleagues may have, some people may have missed yesterday. So, because of the importance of the institution called the Human Rights Commission, it is actually established in the Constitution, which is our supreme law. So, Article 231 establishes the Human Rights Commission. And under Article 232, the Human Rights Commission has the mandate of ensuring that the Bill of Rights is upheld and protected. And you asked the question earlier, what is the Bill of Rights? The Bill of Rights really is just a list of what is known as the fundamental freedoms and rights that you and I are expected to enjoy. Okay, and so when we look also for in terms of the specific mandate of the commission under Article 230 Clause 3 of the Constitution, and this is the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, it provides that the HRC's mandate is to investigate and report on the observance of rights and freedoms, and also to take necessary steps to secure appropriate redress where rights and freedoms are violated. We also endeavor to resolve a dispute through negotiation, mediation, or conciliation. We also carry out research on rights and freedoms and related matters, as well as conducting civic education on rights and freedoms, such as what we are having right now. So we go out and sensitize the public in terms of issues to do with human rights. So the common violations, I think you asked the question, what are some of the common? So in terms of the mandate of the Human Rights Commission, we handle all clusters of human rights. So we have civil and political rights, economic, social, cultural rights, as well as group rights. So those are the main three clusters.
Okay.
And for the Human Rights Commission, it does not have a specific mandate of a specific cluster. We are a national human rights institution for the public good, and we handle all human rights. Of course, when we go into detail, these rights have got different connotations in terms of what is the state required to do. So when it comes to civil and political rights, for example, the right to freedom of expression, right to religion, to worship, right to freedom of assembly, and so on, those rights are in the first cluster known as civil and political rights. And the other, some people call them negative rights. Negative in the sense that the state must not take positive steps. It must keep a hands-off attitude. So if you want to move Farai from here to Livingstone at 12 hours after our program, you should not find maybe a police or anybody for that matter stopping you to say you cannot go. You should just be in this place and so on. So people must keep a hands off. You know, if you want to go to a particular religious grouping, if you want to go to church, you want to go to a mosque, you are free. Nobody should take.
If I want to be Muslim, I can be Muslim.
It's absolutely your right. So that is one cluster. And the second cluster, economic, social, cultural rights. These are positive rights. What it means is that the state actually needs to take positive steps. They must now take specific actions to ensure that people enjoy these rights. This is the right to health, the right to education, the right to food, those rights that require financial resource. Now, under human rights discourse, these rights do not have an immediate effect, if you like. For example, you cannot expect that any government in the world, even the most richest countries, can implement all the economic rights at once. So what what was agreed by member states of the United Nations through the International Covenant on the Economic, Social, Cultural Rights was that these rights, these ones which are in the second cluster, economic, social, cultural rights, will be realized progressively. You know, it is through some concerted efforts.
And where are we as a country then?
I think
if it's progressively.
Exactly.
How have you progressed?
Farai, I must mention that part of the progress really is stagnating because of the fact that, remember our Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is a list of fundamental rights for which, when they are violated, you can go to the domestic courts, you can go to the High Court under Article 28, or you can go to the Constitutional Court. Okay, I think that is under Article 218. So when this now under the current Bill of Rights, what we have is only those rights that are in the first cluster, the hands-off, the ones that require the state not to take positive steps. So you won't find in the Bill of Rights the right to food, you won't find the right to education, the right to, the right to health, and so on. Those rights that require you to actually now invest to ensure that
you attain
in all the parts of the country are enjoying these rights without discrimination. We have heard, I think, in some parts of the country where people have said, for us, we've never even seen power, we have never seen. So all those would have been cases where it is shown that people have been systematically denied a particular right, which comes, in the cluster of economic, social, cultural rights. If it was in the Bill of Rights, such people would be justified to go to court. So as it is for now, we cannot hold the state. We cannot go to court. Exactly. And that is why there was a referendum in 2016. The whole idea was to expand these rights that we will now be able to hold the government accountable and
make
say,
them more binding.
Exactly.
Which failed,
unfortunately, Farai. And I think that the people of Zambia should do, the past gives you lessons. There are lessons learned. Okay? There are different reasons that maybe this particular process did not result in to fruition. The Human Rights Commission would have loved that we have an expanded Bill of Rights, because in the expanded Bill of Rights, as it is for now, we cannot, like I've explained, we cannot hold government accountable, and we cannot enforce we cannot go to court and claim that we have been neglected or there is this violation, and we have our children not going to school because the nearest school is 30 kilometers. So we cannot do that for now, because the court will tell us, you have come here to court on a right that you cannot hold the government accountable, the state accountable. So you have no case. So it is important that people of Zambia understand that an expanded Bill of Rights will enhance the rights of special groups such as women, children, persons with disabilities who have continuously suffered discrimination.
The less marginalized.
Exactly. The aged. There will be all those rights that will be in, even the what we call group rights, such as the right to a clean environment, So all those are rights that were, if it was successful, if the Bill of Rights was expanded, the referendum was successful, these would have also gone in the Bill of Rights. The
phones have started flashing. The phones have started flashing. But maybe before we can get to the calls, so that we can accommodate as many callers as possible, I know for sure that a number of them are also made following to the program yesterday. So we just are trying to, touch on areas that perhaps we feel need emphasis. Now, let's look at the strategic focus of the Human Rights Commission, your commission, the strategic focus that you have, maybe going by what we have seen, unprecedented, circumstances, unusual happenings, political unrest. We've seen police brutality, and the list is endless.
Absolutely, Farai.
And yours is a very critical one, because it's not the position of the station, it's not my position, but the general perception is that the HRC has not really been anywhere close. It's like you're just good on paper.
Right.
Okay. Right. And maybe through civic education, which is one of the ventures that we've embarked on, using this particular program and forum, you can amplify and maybe make an understanding for people to be able to understand where you are and maybe what you are doing.
Absolutely. Farai, you raised very interesting points, but I'm just reminded of the fact that you asked a question that I said I would get to, and the question was, are you independent? Farai, the Human Rights Commission is only subject to the Constitution. It is not subject to any authority, to any person, or to any organization, or to any office.
Autonomous.
We are autonomous. And it is in that regard that we are able to hold the state accountable. If you look at the Human Rights Commission, and in terms of some of the high-profile cases that have been, in the public domain that the Human Rights Commission has handled, most of them, they involve the state, actually.
And
the state
at a later stage, maybe for 3 minutes, you should be able to share with us some of those.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Well, I'll be able to do that. But I just wanted to underscore the fact that the Human Rights Commission, of course, being a state institution, we depend on government for our operations in terms of it's public
operations and
exactly
or the smooth operation
exactly
okay.
But
maybe sometimes that the people may want to say, when you have support, you can't bite the finger that feeds you.
Well, you could be right in that direction, right? However, it is also the same with, for example, the judiciary. If you look at a judge is paid by the taxpayer. It's public money.
And it's just general perception.
So yeah, exactly. And so it's also about the individuals behind these institutions.
Yes.
If you understand your mandate and you understand that even if you made a decision that is maybe contrary to whoever or whichever institution or person or office bearer, and you understand that you are protected, because the same law, because it knows the law, you know, and understands that sometimes you may be unduly attacked. It has provided for protection. So if you understand that I am protected, the law is very clear on the fact that I should exercise, you know, our independence and autonomy, then it lies, the mantle actually is with the institution, the mandate holder, to ensure that they do not compromise their status. If you don't, you know, appreciate the status of your mandate, then you can allow for people to abuse you. But I think I can speak for the Human Rights Commission confidently that I do not know of anybody that controls the Human Rights Commission apart from the commission itself.
Okay.
And now the strategic focus, Farai, just very quickly. You see, the Human Rights Commission.
Maybe before you before you chip in now, the callers or listeners may as well be getting prepared to just bring in your contributions towards the program on 0977-902-568 for your text messages. 0977-902-568. We can get your contributions, and of course you will be calling us on 0213-250-610. Please use only one line, because the other one will not be more audible for us to get you clearly. So use 0213-250-610. We haven't opened yet. Let me just allow Mr. Banda to maybe give us what the strategic focus is for the HRC, and then after that we open the lines, and then you can come on board. You can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I may not touch on all the important things.
Exactly, but maybe like just
yes, but just to say that the Human Rights Commission notes that it only has presence in 6 provinces. So we are not in Wapula. We are not.
So I'll take that. I'll take that as one of the challenges.
Exactly. You know, we are also not in Northwestern. So. It poses a challenge. It poses a challenge. And so, what then do we do when we cannot be? And I can understand when people from such areas who are far from the nearest Human Rights Commission office, when they bring out their dissatisfaction, I can understand, and I sympathize with them. But we are vigorously engaging the relevant stakeholders to decentralize, because after the amendment of the Constitution in 2016, the Human Rights Commission now is required or is expected to be in all the provinces and progressively in all the districts. So we hope to get to a situation where we'll get our services to as close to the people as possible. And so sometimes I think when people have been blacked out, they think you don't even exist. And so one of the things that we do is to continuously, you know, go to places and try to use various channels and platforms such as radio. Like right now, we are able to reach to places where we may not be. And we have also decided that, look, at the moment, since we are not in every part of the country, let's have a toll-free line where people can call without having to pay. 8181, if you call, even right now, listeners, you can call. Someone will pick the phone. It does not matter where you are.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm sure that's interesting news.
Exactly. We'll listen to you, and it will just be a service as good as you having come to our office.
In person.
So those are strategies. We have now, you know, social media. We have opened up, we have a Facebook page. So we know that some people may have access to these new technologies, and you can find the Human Rights Commission on the Facebook account is Human Rights Commission -Zambia. We also have gone a step further. Twitter. Those of us that are very good with these gadgets,
advanced,
at HRC_Zambia, you are able to also reach us. So we are trying what we can do with what we have, because I do not think that it would be fair to the people of Zambia to complain and say, of course, because we are only in 6 parts of, 6 provinces, it cannot be. It cannot be. The people of Zambia deserve a service, and that service is one that we are committed to, and we are taking steps that will ensure that we maximize the available technology and the available platforms to reach out to as many. Of course, there still be some people that have no phones. There still be some people that we appreciate those, but we have to take steps. We have to. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
With one step.
We are moving the toll-free line. We are also moving now to introduce an SMS where people can SMS, because sometimes you do not want to call. Maybe you're in a situation where even talking may not be, and sometimes maybe you're a person with a speech disability. So all those are areas where we can allow anybody to also have access. So those are things that we are doing, and we are hoping we can.
Interesting strides you are making.
Exactly. But now to the strategic focus. So when we know that we are not everywhere, we decide to say, let us make much more impact by having strategic objectives, such as influencing policy and legal reforms. Okay? Because Farai, you and I know that if you go to our correctional facilities today, around the country, not only where we are here, there is congestion. Okay?
It's a
there are
very,
people that have stayed without their cases being disposed of
lengthy
for a long time.
delays.
There are appeals that are pending for the courts. There are juveniles that are supposed to be conveyed to different facilities, such as the Mazabuka approved school and the Katombora, reformatory. So there are a lot of things that are happening. But because we understand that we are thin, we are lean, we cannot be in each prison. In each correctional facility. By the way, it's no longer prison; it's correctional facility. Because now we are moving from the punishment and the, distribution to correcting the offender, so that they can come back to society and be, they contribute positively. So what we now do is, because we cannot always be there, we have to influence at a larger scale. So we are embarking on a project, for example, what we are calling anti-torture campaign. So what is involved in this particular campaign is, we started running this campaign in 2015, and it will end at the end of 2019. So what this project is doing, or is aimed at doing, is to address three specific things. One is to come up with a law that will criminalize the acts of torture. At the moment, Farai, you may wish to know that apart from the Constitution under Article 15 saying a person shall not be tortured, there is no law in our penal laws. The penal code does not have an offense, or any other law does not have an offense which says torture is an offense. A person who commits torture, if convicted, shall be liable to. There is no such law. So if a person is tortured, the closest offense that may be found to fit the act of torture, because we take torture to be very serious. That is why the Constitution does not give an exception. It is a very serious. This is one of the international crimes that international community has agreed that this is an international crime.
Maybe for the sake of somebody or the torture. When you say torture. What kind of? We have mental torture. We have physical torture.
Exactly. So torture is any act or omission that causes severe pain and suffering. It can be mental. It can be physical.
Is it the torture at police station sometimes?
It happens a lot under law enforcement, but it also happens, in different setups. So what the Human Rights Commission is doing is that, because torture is happening all around the country, especially where we have no presence, because sometimes people do things because they feel or they think that they cannot be, there is no institution that can hold them accountable. So we are coming up with a law that is going to criminalize torture and give torture an appropriate punishment. Because at the moment, even where somebody has got broken limbs, they have been beaten with broken spine, they will just be charged with assault, which is a very light, crime.
And yet the implication is
exactly, and that is what perpetuates torture to continue. And because, so we are looking at a broader picture, so that we do not have to be at every police station, at every correctional facility, but we will have a law that even a person that is alone in Kafulafuta can go and say, I have been tortured, can I be protected under this law? So that is how we are trying to address that. So the second limb of the torture campaign is to change the mindset, sensitization, because we have noticed, our findings show that even the community believe that, for example, the law enforcement officers, in particular, have the right to torture. Even the neighborhood watch, those that are supposed to assist community policing, they believe that a person should actually be tortured.
Be beaten even.
Exactly. So we have also a culture that we need to address. And it is on such platforms that we sensitize people and say, when you are tortured, you should ensure that you report to the Human Rights Commission or you report to the nearest police. And if the police are not assisting you, because again, the challenge is that if a torturer is a police officer and you report to the police, the accused is investigating themselves. So there are challenges. So we understand, and that is why we facilitate such processes.
That's why you exist.
Exactly. And then the last, the last limb or leg of this particular project is to anchor or to improve the investigative tools, or to ensure that we build the capacity of law enforcement to investigate using modern tools and technology. Because sometimes it's because they don't have a way of carrying out proper investigations. There is no forensic analysis of evidence and so on. So what they know is that a person must say Nina Bwalya or Inachita. So you beat the truth out of a person, or is it beating the lies out of a person? So that is one big project that we are embarking on. We are concerned, Farai, when we go to correctional facilities, we find that correctional facility is overcrowded. On average, our correctional facilities are crowded by over 300 to even about 500%. You find a facility that was meant to have 300 people is accommodating 1,300.
Plus.
Okay, our correctional, the normal capacity of all the prisons in Zambia is around 5,500 thereabout, but we constantly have around over 22,000. That is, you can see that is over almost 300-400%.
The percentages are beyond.
So what we do, what we strategically now embark on is to interrogate who is in this correctional facility. What are they here for? So you find that some people are there for petty offenses. They have been denied police bond. They have been denied bail. So as a Human Rights Commission, we said, look, we now need to influence the law. We now need to influence police. So we have been embarking on a process that is hopefully able to make the law much, because the law as it is now gives a lot of discretion to the officer in charge of a police station to either decide to give police bond or deny, and to attach conditions. You hear of in a village where there's only one civil servant, a teacher, or maybe then you are telling someone we need 2 sureties working in government. Where is a person?
Where is he going to come from?
Where is this person going to find this surety you are asking for?
I'm fascinated by the fact that the Commission is committed to actually ensuring that, for example, just as an example, the congestion in prisons, is one of the areas that you are trying to see how you can cushion and be able to, bring justice to these lengthy delays in, in receiving justice and stuff like that. But we should be able to get the callers just about now. What has been the situation? How has it? What has been the challenge?
The challenge
we have, maybe I'll take that as an example. Maybe an example for that, as well as maybe police brutality itself. Maybe the two.
Exactly. So I'll start with maybe police brutality, because I think this is much more serious, because it borders on torture actually. It is a borderline between torture and so on.
What has the HRC been doing? Where have you existed?
Exactly. So one of the things, Farai, like I mentioned, is to build the capacity. Okay. So building the capacity involves taking officers through the human rights standards. What is it that is required? Okay, you won't believe, Farai, that we have had interactions with men and women in uniform, and sometimes you get to listen to what is coming in the discussion, that actually some may have had the understanding that when you torture somebody, okay, when you torture somebody, you actually appease the complainant to start with. Like it's like if a report is made that somebody has done this, and then the police are investigating, and then to show that you are actually doing your job, it's like when you torture, it's like that's when you are doing your job, which is contrary. Which is contrary. Even the issue of police bond and bail, you find that some people, because bail is constitutional, it's anchored on the Constitution, on the provisions on presumption of innocence, which is Article 18(2)(a). So, as long as a person has not been found guilty, if a person is still a remand inmate, or is only charged with an offense and is undergoing trial, he is presumed innocent. That is what we have told. That's what we have agreed in this country. That anybody who has not yet been convicted by a competent court is innocent. Now, because this person is innocent, is presumed innocent, therefore, you cannot start punishing them by denying them police bond or bail. Because what we see is actually it appears as if we say you are guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And you see that sometimes, and I think I've heard these questions,
which is like a vice versa.
Exactly. That is a violation. The punishment of violating any law is at the point when somebody is convicted. Okay? If a person is found guilty of an offense, the appropriate institution is the court, and it will read the law that you have broken. This is what the law says. Therefore, I'm punishing you. It doesn't. You do not. The state does not lose. The complainant does not lose. At the point when a person is now convicted, it is still that redress of having this person punished. So when we see that we have had cases where musamuchose uyu as choke, and even sometimes when a person comes out, we've had scenarios where a person is released, the case is one. Of course, there are certain offenses like murder, aggravated robbery. You cannot get police bond or bail. They are non-bailable. But for the majority of the cases, they are bailable. So you release a person, the police release a person on bond, or the court give bail, the community rises. Why are choker? We wanna so there's a lot of misunderstanding. We need to be clear. Punishment is only after a person has been
committed,
exactly,
has been convicted.
Exactly.
Maybe we allow.
Absolutely.
We have so many text messages coming through already, and the phone has been flashing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, listeners, for actually it's not ignoring, but we've been trying to actually create a more a creative environment, so that as you call, you are able to understand exactly what we are talking about, and of course which areas you'd want to have clarity on. So 0977 902 568 is the number to text me on. 0977 902 568, and of course you can call us on 0213 250 610. That's the number you can call us live in the studio. We are talking to Mr. Kims Banda. He is Chief Investigations and Legal Services from the Human Resource Commission, the HRC. All right. Please don't call me on this line. You better call us on the line that we have given, which is 0213 250 610. You are through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you, sir. This is Koilad calling, sir.
Mr. Koilad.
Thank you. I hope you are able to get me clear. I'm on the way. I'm on the bus. Yes,
you are on the bus.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, sir. Get me.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you very much. The first question I have is that indeed, I'm on the bus. Indeed. And then the second question that I want to ask you is that there was an anomaly being conducted by the public broadcasters, the NBC. They carried a story to state that Kims Banda was killed in Sinazongwe just because she was not a Tonga. And that story, we have not seen human rights because people were put in danger. After some investigation, it was found that that story was false. Now, what was the position of human rights? Was the people were put in danger by the unprofessionalism of a journalist using the public media to disseminate information which is not true? What is your position on such cases? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We've been struggling to get exactly what you were trying to bring, but of course it's in relation to a story that was published, I think, on a media platform of a woman that was killed because of being Tonga, but for whatever reasons, I think we didn't get that one. But maybe you may just take note on and maybe give the directive. Let's get maybe another 2 or 3 callers so that we see how we can put them together and move on. And of course, you've been listening to Mr. Kims Banda, investigations and legal services officer for the HRC. Maybe you may have an addition or maybe contribution that you'd love to give. Briefly do so. You are through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Give us your name, please.
I'm Chris. I'm calling from Chikuni.
You are Chris?
Yes, please.
Okay. Briefly give us your contribution, Chris, from Chikuni.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to find out about issues of property grabbing and issues of inheritance. Do they tackle them if suppose people feel undermined or maybe denied their right to property, say after when they feel that they deserve to own property after somebody has passed on?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a good morning. All right. 0213-250-610. We get maybe one more, and then we see how we can combine the two. 0213-250-610. You are through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Long. How are you?
We are fine, thank you. How are you? Give us your name, please, and where you are.
This is Mr. Mkonga Rusaka.
Mr. Mukonga.
Yes, my brother.
Briefly.
How are you, Mr. Banda?
I'm fine, Mr. Mkonga. How are you?
Yeah, human rights, my brother. It is a prerequisite for any given society so that fundamental freedoms of citizenry is protected to the fullest. You cannot have a normal society when the human rights component is being trampled on by those in authority, Mr. Banda. Allow me to emphasize on one point that human rights in a given country like Zambia can only be adhered to when you strengthen institutions of democracy in a given country. Don't interfere with the anti-corruption commission operations. Don't tell the police what to do. They are trained as lie. They understand the law better than a politician. Respect the separation of powers in the governance system of any given country. Don't disturb the operations of Human Rights Commission. There should be no invisible hand telling them what to do. It was a universal declaration under League of Nations after Second World War, where Woodrow Wilson from Britain, Winston Churchill of the United States of America, and Clemenceau of France, and other world leaders sat and founded human rights, and all nations became obliged to follow the guidelines, and every nation appended their signature to enable them feel duty bound and adhere to the rules of the game. Now, Mr. Banda, PFL's government has abrogated human rights in the country, e.g. freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and the other political freedoms have been trampled on. Finally, human rights are not negotiable. Under Bill of Rights, Article 232, protect every citizen, including Lyson, Elvis, Honorable Mumbi, myself. It protects everyone. But I don't know why other people find the guts to really abrogate human rights. I therefore request the Human Rights Commission in the provinces where you don't exist, use the NGOs, use the chiefdoms to make sure they assist you to protect human rights to those people who cannot come and complain to Rusaka. Please, Mr. Banda, help us in that area. Mr. Torongo, I thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukonga. Have a beautiful morning. You have it. Maybe we break for now. We can tackle. You can call us. Let's allow Mr. Banda to actually maybe address some of these calls that have come. I think we have about 3, if I'm not mistaken.
About 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, the other one was not clear. I think where we had a woman who was killed because she was Tonga or whatever tribe. Right. Yeah, a quick one, just quickly before you can get another set.
Right. So I think Koilad, although we didn't really get to get the whole question.
Yes.
But I think what I could pick from what he was trying to ask was the unethical conduct of a journalist.
Yes.
That a journalist, I think, spread a story
that
was later found not to be
true.
Yes. You know, one of the things that the Human Rights Commission actually engages media houses in terms of sensitizing journalists and also building their capacity in terms of ethical. Journalists are not. They are technical people. They belong to a club. They belong to a profession that has got ethics. They belong to that kind of setup. Therefore, we call upon the media houses to report responsibly, because if you have an unverified story, if you have an unverified information that has potential,
that lacks,
they say that lies run faster than the truth. So you find that you misinform the people, and then if you misinform the people may take action that is unguided. So for us, really, it's an issue that we continuously engage the media to ensure that we do not create an acrimonious society based on rumors and now there's a global term called fake news. We should desist from that, because it has potential to damage other people's reputation. And once the reputation of a person is damaged, Farai, it is very difficult for people to gain confidence,
trust, and
exactly. So I think that is about COILAT, and I think Chris asked a question about property grabbing and whether the Human Rights Commission, tackles such cases. Yes, we do, Chris, and most of these cases, actually, you will find that normally they affect children and women. Okay, and normally they fall in what we call child neglect and so on. So you find families want to take property, and they disregard the interests of the children, because in everything that you do, according to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, you must ensure that you take the best interest of the child when you make decisions. So if a family, for example, has left children, father and mother have died and they've left children, and there's a house, why would you sell that house? Of what interest does it benefit the children? And then you take the money and so those are some of the things that, remember when I talked about the mandate of the commission. The mandate of the commission includes mediation. So we sit and say, look, why wouldn't you then consider leaving this house, putting it, you hold it in trust, because the children, maybe they are not yet of age, they are not yet 18 to enter into. So we engage, and where we cannot resolve such issues, then they escalate. We may make a recommendation that the issue goes to court, but normally these issues are normally agreed and resolved. Okay. And then I think there was a question also from Mr. Mukonka. I think he actually made recommendations. Commendations, yes, some recommendations.
Accolades as well.
Yes, the primary duty bearer is the state. Even the Human Rights Commission, much of the violations that it deals with, they are violations at the hands of the state. If you have a case in court and your case is not moving, it is the state. It is the state. The state is an embodiment of so many aspects of our life. If you go to a health post and you cannot access medical health, it is the state. So the state has obligations to ensure that rights and freedoms are and you see, we must, our understanding of the state, a state and a government are two different things. The government can change. You can have this government, but the state remains the same. So because Zambia has signed these international commitments, it is Zambia, the state, and not a particular government. If you look at when Zambia was signing some of these things, it was in the Kaunda era. But we are still committed and still bound. You see what I mean? So governments can change, but what we focus is the state. The state is a major perpetrator of human rights violations, and the statistics are there. When you go to prison, like I mentioned, last year we went around the country. Part of last year and the other year, we had a project where we were going around the country to find out who is in prison and for what reason. We found over 1,000 cases, in excess of 1,000, of cases of people whose cases have delayed because their trials are not taking place, their committal orders, have not been issued, their appeals are pending, judgments are pending, conveyances. So we resolved most of those cases. We had to follow them and resolve them. But the issue is that...
And many others.
Exactly. Therefore, it is the state. For us, it is the state. It is the one that is violating. Because it is the state that must ensure that your case is heard on time. It is the state that must ensure that the police apply the law fairly. Public order. He spoke about freedoms of assembly and association. The Human Rights Commission is on record having clearly stated that the application of the Public Order Act is constantly biased. We are not saying all the time, because other cases you find that it is actually fairly applied. But there have also been cases where we have seen for ourselves to say this is not a fair application of the Public Order Act. If you are going to, for example, even when people say a permit, it's not a permit. When the people go
notice.
it's a notice. There's a Supreme Court judgment. Okay? There's a Supreme Court judgment. Mulundikan the people, which is clear. It says you cannot go and get a permit. In this era and democracy and an institution, a country that upholds democratic values, you cannot put a lease or a license, because a permit is a license. It's like someone says, go and enjoy, after 2 hours, bring it back. So it is a permit. It's not a permit, it's a notice. You give a notification. But again, Farai, because the Human Rights Commission wants to understand, we don't like to issue unguided statements and unguided misleading the public. We like to interrogate. What did we do? We deliberately decided to bring the different stakeholders, political parties, state organs, civil society, students, union movements. Can we sit together? Law association, can we sit together? Why do we have a problem here?
People want to see fruition of those meetings.
Okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Maybe you can quickly close on that one so that we can accommodate 3 more callers, then we can close the program.
Right. Maybe I think I've tackled the questions. Maybe just to say that Public Order Act is one of the real human rights issues that we are grappling with as a country. And you and I, Farai, who remember that each government has promised that when we go in office, we will address Public Order Act. And even Zambia belongs to a league of other countries. Under the United Nations framework, there's what we call the Universal Periodic Review, which Zambia underwent in 2017. And Zambia accepted recommendations from fellow countries, member states of the United Nations, who recommended that Zambia needed to go and ensure that it put in place a law that criminalizes torture, and also a law that ensures that the Public Order Act is applied fairly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banda. The Public Order Act can take us another 1 hour on its own.
I know.
Let's just allow maybe 3 more callers because we are stressed for time now, and be able to get 1 or 2 contributions to the program. 0213250610. You will actually forgive us because we have a limited time. You're through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Mr.?
Fine, thank you. Give us your name, please, and where you are.
My name is Mr. Malambo from Zimba.
Mr. Malambo from Zimba.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Banda.
Mr. Banda, good morning. Please give us a quick one.
Good morning, Mr. Malambo.
Yes. I'm very happy with the job that you are doing, my brother, Mr. Banda. My concern maybe will be on the environmental rights, because these are part of the human-based rights that we have. So we have seen many times in this country that companies have built their big conglomerate companies and pollute the environment and all the time. We as Zambians, we might be relaxing sometimes to report such cases, because as Zambians maybe we are not educated more on this. But the protection of the environment is very cardinal to the full realization of many other human rights that we have in this country and on the international market. So my appeal maybe is to the Human Rights Commission to open up to platforms such that the public could be reporting such cases, such pollution of the environment that companies do on several occasions. But we should actually
can be responsible for what we do. You've seen now the cholera is out of question because we have tried by all means through the Kims Banda train by the president and then I think so if we work together, we can actually protect self-health and clean, sustainable environment, which is an integral part of the enjoyment of the full wide range of human rights. So, I recommend for the good job that you do, Mr. Banda, and keep it up. And let's open up reporting systems to all the nations so that Gambians are free to report any breach of the environmental rights as far as the companies are concerned.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
Mr. Banda. Thank you so much, Mr. Brian.
We appreciate your call.
Thank you so much, Baba.
All right. You can call us on 0213-250-610. That's the number you can call us on, and of course, be very brief. Give us your contribution or indeed your observations with regards to human rights. And of course, we should be able to close anytime. You're through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you, Mr. Moderator?
We are fine, thank you. Please give us your name and where you are.
Yeah, this is Philemon, still calling you from Chitulika, Zambia.
Philemon, please give us your brief contribution because we are almost in the dying minutes of our program, just under a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, panelists there.
Good morning, Philemon.
Thank you. I've got a question, or maybe two questions. And I don't know if the question that I'm going to ask the area of interest, or maybe it is your constituents or the province.
Let's have them. Let's have them. Let's have them.
What are you doing as Human Rights Commission? You know, we've got this kind where people are subjected to drinking water with animals. Because when I'm born, I'm entitled to a good sanitation. And the other issue is we had somebody, a journalist from Post, who had his mouth filled with urine by a cadre. Don't you think it's a violation of human rights? You cannot put urine, cannot urinate in a human being. So, and lastly, there was in Shuangando, where Mr. Kampengo comes from, there was frequent attack of airplanes on the airport. We had obstreperous cadres who have got the tendency of attacking opposition parties at the airport, which is tantamount to treason or terrorism. So, as Human Commission, what are we doing? And even Mr. Mao Sampo was attacked at Simon Monsakapu Airport by these cadres. Don't you think that is violation of human rights? So, these three questions, I need them to be answered urgently. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Philemon. We appreciate your call. Let's get to one more. I think maybe we can just embed them together. Then we appreciate and see how best. 0213-250-610. You're through to Sky Forum. Good morning.
Honorable Francis Mumbi, calling you from Lusaka. Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning, Honorable Mumbi.
Thank you very much. And good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mumbi. How are you?
Yes, greetings to the honorable callers and listeners. Issues of human rights, well articulated in the studio there. You know, human rights have got their own limitations. It does not mean, we can spend the whole day. If I give an example of how opposition party leaders and members misbehave concerning human rights, because they think, because now I've decided to do this, let me go and hold the meeting, whether the government likes it or not, it's my human rights. They've got their own limitations. All you need to do is follow the rules. That's why you won't have a problem with human rights. And then number two, people, that is why in a radio station, for example, a radio station will always put up a disclaimer to say the views are of the caller, not of the radio station. Why? It is because in as much as you've got human rights, don't come on radio to call somebody corrupt, to call somebody a thief with 10 years, so that somebody can sue you. And when he sues you, you say it's political expedition or something like that. Those are the issues that we should be very mindful of human rights. Let us understand and continue talking to people about human rights. I'm happy the guests in the studio there, the way they're explaining things, to open people's minds, because there are certain people, you call them corrupt, you call them thieves, you even insult other people, even fellow callers. At the end of the day, there'll just be one day when somebody wake up and say, I think it's too much, enough is enough. You find yourself in a court of law. What are you going to say? No human rights. No, I didn't know. You know, the law has is not ignorant. Woman here was simply because you did something wrong. So human rights has got its own limitations. For example, I may feel no. Let me go and beat up that person because he irritates me a lot. Maybe the way he talks, the way he does whatever. If I go ahead knowing that it's my human right because my heart is telling me, what would the police do? They'll come and arrest me and throw me in the police at the end of the day, even be jailed. You get a point. Human rights, let us understand them. It's not all about waking up and as a citizen you decide what to do. Why end up going on the rally? You don't even get permission. You go do whatever you have to. No, don't do this because you feel it is your right. You go ahead. Somebody is trying to cross the road. Because you are in the main way, there's a four-way stop. You want I'm going to affect with that. It's a human right. Let me just go because the other can need it. At the end of the day, you die, both of you. So follow the rules the way they are and then human rights the way they are. Human rights not about misbehaving or thinking or calling the other or going to a police station, beating up policemen because they're trying to control you. You go to Woodlands police station, you beat up all the policemen there, and then you say it's human rights because you are aggrieved. Somebody is being interrogated against your will. No, it's like that. We should be very, very, sincere with ourselves in the way we do things. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker there and Mr. Moderator, human rights are issues that a lot of them need to be educated on. Most of them decide to ignore the issues of human rights, knowing that at the end of the day, like I said, you can end up in prison for something that knowingly and unknowingly, but you want to pretend not to. You can find yourself being judged for something that you can avoid by thing like grown-up people. That's what the way I look at human rights. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you so much. And no, we end here. We actually have gone beyond time.
Human rights have some limitations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. All right. He was our last caller. Perhaps we have to end, and of course, maybe a couple of text messages. But maybe quick one.
Right.
Let's be very brief, even as we tackle answer, give answers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's be.
So very quickly, we appreciate the feedback that we are getting.
Yeah.
I think the first question was from Mr. Malambo, and he raises a very interesting issue, which is one of our focus actually. The issue of the environmental
health,
vis-a-vis,
yes.
businesses. The human rights trajectory. If you look at the focus now of the United Nations, one of the recent focus of the United Nations is to influence countries to position themselves in such a way that they hold businesses accountable. So there's a movement which is coined business and human rights, because it has been found that businesses are now one of the major violators of human rights. And he gave specific examples where they pollute the environment, sometimes they displace people, sometimes that is an area that I was also going to mention, that the Human Rights Commission has been working tirelessly. It's an emerging issue. It's a new, focus in terms of even globally, the human rights. Because you have got companies, foreign companies that go to countries which have got, for example, weak laws, and because there are weak laws, and maybe because there is corruption in certain countries, you find that those companies, when they violate rights of local people, they are not held to account in the local jurisdiction where they are operating. So one of the principles under business and human rights is that there should be universal jurisdiction where these countries can be held liable anywhere in the world, including particularly the country where they originate from. So if you have got a company that is coming from country X, and in country B where it is operating from, it cannot, maybe the systems are not strong enough, you can go to country X and sue that company for a violation happening in country B.
All right.
So
the other one?
So the other one, I think, was, to Malambo, with the platforms, if you want to report violations of any kind, including businesses that are polluting the environment, for example, you can call 8181, or you can reach us on Facebook, Human Rights Zambia, Human Rights Commission Zambia, or at Twitter, that is at HRC_Zambia. So we are trying as much as possible to
use different channels.
Okay. Philemon also, raised interesting.
Had about 3 questions. He came with questions.
Exactly. He spoke about drinking water with animals.
Yeah, sharing water with animals.
That a journalist
was urinated on
to swallow urine and so on, and attacks political cadres, attacking other camps. Now, I'll answer them one by one. The right to clean drinking water. Okay, the right to clean drinking water is one of the rights that is recognized under the International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. But this right, although does not, sit in the Bill of Rights, is one that you and I accept the fact that water is life. Water is life. We may not have it in the Bill of Rights. It is not there. The right to clean water is not there in the Bill of Rights. But it affects the enjoyment of all the rights. Because if you are going to have contaminated water, obviously your health, obviously your survival, and so on will be affected. So these are, I think, rights that I mentioned that we would love if we have an opportunity to expand the Bill of Rights. We can have them in the Constitution, in the Constitution that can allow us to hold the government accountable when we have such scenarios. Because at the moment, we can only appeal to the government to provide. We cannot have a court to order them to provide these particular rights. But we take note of the fact that everybody has a right to clean drinking water. It should not be, after so many years after independence, that people should drink water from the same, point with an animal.
Okay.
Then I think the issue of, I think this was a case, if I'm not mistaken, the issue of a journalist. Must have a case to do with a journalist. I think it happened maybe in Eastern Province.
Eastern Province, yes.
Yes, I think the commission carried out an investigation, and I think in this particular case, those that were involved were arrested, and we condemned, and we issued a statement to that effect. You cannot do that. The media must be protected. You do not need the media only when it suits you. The media is there to convey divergent ideas, even the ideas that you do not like. That is the role of the media. And the moment you don't understand that role that the media plays, then you will feel that you have to control what the media. You cannot gag the media. The media must be free to do their professional work. And I think there was also an issue of, although it gives a specific case of Shwangandu, it is not only Shwangandu. Political cadres, and it's not only one particular political party.
Yeah.
They are all involved.
All of
they are
them.
all of
and
them
they're
involved.
very good at pointing one another.
Exactly. But what we call for as a Human Rights Commission is a situation where we can have political tolerance. We can allow. You see, when you know that your colleagues are already have taken a particular space, and that is one of the genuine reasons where the police, for example, can say, where you want to go, there's already an event. However, maybe we can propose that you hold it at another. No, you get a backlash. No. We will proceed. Then that creates a problem, because you see, like Honorable Mumbi mentioned, human rights have got limitations. We have been in stakeholder meetings, engagements. Sometimes we always just say the police have done unprofessional work. But when you actually interrogate some of these cases, you find that even political parties are also found wanting. The law says you must give 7 days notice in writing. Farai, I underline in writing.
Yes.
Somebody goes to the police station and says, on Friday, today is, on Monday, for example, which is even less than 7 days, on Monday, we are going to be at such a place. Whether I like it or not, we are notifying you because the law says we have notified you. Off they go. Then the police start saying, no, you have not complied. There are certain requirements. It is not in writing. It is in, the event is less than 7. So there are procedures that we, like my colleague, Honorable Mumbi mentioned. We can only have peace if we tolerate one another. Because if we have a situation where, this country is big, why would you want to be in one place with your rival at the same time? You can agree. You can agree to say we will come at another time. You proceed with your because you are rivals, and this is where leadership comes in. Yeah. As leaders of these political parties,
we have to wind up.
It is their duty, Farahim, to wind up.
Yes,
it is the duty of the leadership of political parties, especially because the cadres are the main perpetrators of violence, especially around political. Look at what happened this year. It is not right, and I think the message is not sinking to the lowest member of a political party in the name of a cadre. Okay? what they believe is that if somebody is wearing a different attire, it is a reason to attack them. If somebody is waving a different symbol, it is we cannot live like that. So it starts with the top leadership. If they can instill those values of oneness, one Zambia, one nation, we have only one country. If we disturb the peace that we have, look at the countries around the world. When you lose peace, it is very, very difficult to have it back. I think we take it for granted. But what we are saying as a Human Rights Commission is that regardless of which political party, you need to respect the rights of others. And also the law enforcement. You have to be fair and apply the law fairly without discrimination. Do not only arrest those that belong to a particular political party. If there is a wrong, all people must be subjected to the same law, because we only have one Zambia with one set of laws, not different laws for different
My
people.
producer will kill me, Mr. Banda.
Thank you,
And I think Honorable Mumbi had no question. He was actually giving our colleagues, and of course, maybe trying to also intensify on how human rights needs to be enjoyed, and of course, not stepping on other people and then abusing them. Let's get to a few text messages. We are winding up just now. Somebody says, "Let us not beat about the bush, brethren. There is one political party which campaigned against this referendum, thinking that when they win elections that will put them under pressure. It was unfortunately indeed because that political party overrated itself. Now the people of Zambia can not enjoy the certain rights due to selfish of such that political party." Okay, SCK from Lusaka. Well, thank you so much. There wasn't a question. Good morning, Mr. Tolongo and Mr. Banda. I'm following the program, sir. Nicely continue with the same spirit. Kingsley Mutelo from Livingston, Maramba, MEs. Thank you so much, Kingsley. Morning, as a citizen, human rights upheld or infringed? Please be factual. Chongo, Livingston. All right, human rights are being upheld or infringed? Well, okay, that's a question. We hope that we could have time to address to that. Augustine Sikunyema from Inonge village. My suggestion to our current topic: people to defend us. People putting us on fire. People are putting us on fire. Okay, you end there. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can just squeeze in these so that we don't seem to have neglected. Morning to in the studio. We heard what Mr. Banda said. Since the institution falls under the Constitution of Zambia, what do you do when the rights of the majority are violated? Where is your mandate? Tell us. I'm Captain Guide from Katimba. All right. Captain Guide from Katimba. Why the police? Why are the police after beating? Why do the police after beating you take you and when reach you? Why do police after beating you they take you, and when you reach the police station they say you can go now, and they shout at you? All right, I don't know whether the texting wasn't okay. Hi, Mr. I'm enjoying the program. Let HRC not just be on the mouth or paper. It must be very practical. Zambia has now become under reign of terror. Police have become a major concern of human torture. All right. Mr. Banda, you articulate issues clearly. Please work flat out to make us fully enjoy our human rights. You end there. All right. And we get just two more. I think we will be done. Good morning. This one is lengthy, but I'll try and cut it. Good morning, moderator, Mr. Banda. For me, my question is, what is your job as human rights? Is it just to condemn the wrong, but to no action? And I don't agree with you on the Bill of Rights, which failed because this leadership we have is above the law. So even if we voted for that Bill of Rights, it could have not worked. Still, there are laws in place which this government does not follow because the judiciary is compromised. So if we voted for Bill of Rights, tell us where we could have been reporting and which planet, because we have the same judiciary which is compromised. Is the reason why we want dialogue first. Proud Junior Chisamba. All right. Quite lengthy. I would love to commend the Commission on the strides being made in trying to uphold the human rights for all. My question is, what is the Commission doing in upholding human rights in hospitals and correctional facilities? Chair with Sydney third-year law student Zhao. But I think some of these were tackled. I think correctional facilities. Thank you so much that we have a student that actually has come on board, and you are third year at Zambia. It's Zambia Open. Yeah, should be Zhao, Zambia Open. Right. All right. Yeah, I think we end there. We are stressed for time. You want to? I'll give you a minute just to scratch on
I'll just scratch
something of interest here because of time. My producer will kill me.
I understand. All right. Very quickly, the issues that have come are very interesting, and I wish we could have much more time.
Yeah.
And I think most of the questions are coming. Again, it's issues to do with the police and also issues to do with the dialogue and so on. The Human Rights Commission is committed to ensuring that the police particularly, uphold, because one of the responsibilities of the police is to uphold the same Bill of Rights, is to uphold the same Bill of Rights. And what we see is that has not been achieved in by and large. Of course, there are professional police officers, but again, we also have very bad eggs. Not only bad eggs, but very bad eggs. We see a trend where people, have lost lives in police cells. People have been tortured to death, and so on. And what we are calling for is that the state must not shield such perpetrators, because it frustrates the work of the commission.
Exactly.
The commission goes flat out, brings out the information, the relevant evidence. But the commission, as you may wish to know, currently will only make a recommendation. But you see, the anticipation of the drafters of the law was that you are not making an institution to be moribund, to be useless. You are making an institution that will give you credible information that can guide you to make decisions. Okay? So a recommendation that comes from a governance institution with a constitutional mandate must be treated with the seriousness that it deserves. Because you have committed yourself. These rights are in our laws. So these laws are to be implemented by the state, which is the duty bearer of human rights. So we are in the process of amending the Human Rights Commission Act, where we will enhance our mandate to ensure that we do not only make recommendations, but we are also able to make what we call quasi-judicial orders, where now it will be as good as a judgment of the court. And if a person does not comply with what we have, so we are moving in that direction. We know the limitation we have, but we are moving in that direction.
Okay.
And maybe very lastly, I would just thank the listeners and the positive contributions. I may not have answered all the questions. However, those that may still want to have clarifications and still maybe want to report cases to the Human Rights Commission, we have offices in Chipata at plot number 916 Anoya Zulu Road in Livingstone, house number 1861/1 Muchinga Road, in Kasama at plot number 696 Lunzua Road, in Mongu plot number 164 Senanga Road, in Ndola plot number 88189 Moffat Road. And of course, the head office in Lusaka, which is located off Independence Avenue, sharing a premises with the Ministry of Lands. So we are always grateful to receive you. And you can call 8181 for free.
8181 is the short code. That's a free short code, and of course you will be able to reach out and speak to people that will be able to guide you, and of course give you the right guidance or counsel that you may be requiring in any given area. We've been looking at issues surrounding the human rights, and of course what the human rights is, strategizing, and of course it's a focus for the time going forward, and of course maybe seeing how best they can actually place themselves and be available everywhere, and of course uphold, promote, and look at it that ensure that these human rights are really protected and are enjoyed by everyone, regardless of where they come from or which grouping they belong. We've been talking to Mr. Banda, Kims. He actually is the Chief Investigations and the Legal Services, HRC. My apologies to my producer for having gone beyond time. I apologize. And of course, these are issues that are pertinent. And of course, you cannot just have, 45 minutes and looking at this. And we would have actually wanted more. We know for sure that we still had a cluster of, callers that would have wanted to as well call. Thank you so much for all of you that participated. And we appreciate you for your contributions and your questions. We appreciate. Mr. Banda, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Farai.
It's been nice talking to you.
It has been great.
Okay.
I wish we could go on and on.
Exactly.
And happy Women's Day tomorrow.
Exactly.
To our dear mothers, sisters, and aunties.
There you have it. So we end our program just right here, hoping that you learned one or two other things, and of course you now have a clear picture of what the HRC is and what it stands for. Of course, they cannot really manage to be everywhere, but of course you too can play a role and ensure that human rights are promoted. How do you do that? Simply get to their offices or simply dial 8181 and bring those contributions or indeed concerns, or if it's a complaint, they will be able to just guide. Thank you so much. It's been the edition, a different and a special edition of a Sky Forum this morning. My name is Tolongo Farai. Until next week on Wednesday. Tomorrow you will be with my other colleague, Chole Hamando. Goodbye and God bless you.